who randomly approaches the reception area behind the safety window and hands over a piece of paper to the new doorman without uttering a single word. The hood covers this man's identity, who seems to be part of a rebellious type of group, trying to expose Doppelganger Detection Department organization by obtaining new members. The hooded man quickly leaves, leaving the doorman all alone to read the letter, which is written in codes needing to be deciphered. Visiting the fandom wiki, we finally get a translation of this letter, which has a heading of "Don't Trust Them," with the Triple D's logo being crossed off, clearly showing that they do not trust this organization. This letter has a hyperlink which leads to an encrypted website with coded letters, which discloses a highly confidential secret, exposing Triple D for who they really are. The cipher explains that there has been a secret project known as the Trojan Horse, with the nature of the project corresponding to the name it's been given. This project was funded by the military department of the government starting in the year 1945. It's clear the devastation that the Second World War caused and the fear people developed led to them performing unimaginable experiments and conducting controversial and unethical tests to get the upper hand in any urgent warfare. It's no coincidence the military funded this project in order for the government to be prepared in any situation where they are facing any risk of warfare. This project was directed by Oswald D. Kepler, with the lead researcher known as Dr. Afton, a resident who lives in the very same building the new doorman is hired to serve, a building with a record of having majority of its doormen killed and many neighbors butchered. This project involved heavy experimentation to create entities having the ability of shape-shifting and assimilating with people and deceiving them that they are part of them. The prominent results observed from some experimental models showed perfect replicable verbal communication regardless of language, which means these entities created by the government and the military had the skills of speaking any language in the world, which corresponds to the favorable predicted result of having entities infiltrating into any foreign government and speak their language, making them extremely valuable. Other prominent results showed good falsification capability, meaning the entities managed faking documentations, coming up with lies, and knowing about the residents and people that they are mimicking and impersonating, acting as the imposters. The experiments also showed the determination to deceive and form believable lies to infiltrate the building. However, two anticipated outcomes were not perfected. The entities, despite being well advanced in their deception, still did not perfect their physical assimilation, as they still had some quirks which could be noticed by thorough examination, and none showed the capacity to act under orders given by the authority. Therefore, many acted on their own instincts rather than under orders. So, when they killed and hunted the humans, they acted on their own, being an unwanted collateral which the government did not anticipate, but did not care much for, as the positive results of the experiment were more valuable than the lives of several humans. To improve the results, the government did not anticipate, but did not care much for, as the positive results of the experiment were more valuable than the lives of several humans. To improve the results, the government funds for another project known as the Evolutionary Algorithm Project, which seems to be a process which would perfect the entity's shape-shifting abilities and their deception skills. On top of that, a massive training project was approved to improve the obedience of the experimental models. This all seemed good and dandy to the shady government until a leak was detected, triggering an emergency protocol. This leak could have exposed the government of their unethical and deadly experiment project, which could mean large-scale riots and lack of support to the current government, leading to outcry for a government reform or even civil war and national instability internally. This didn't look so good for all the investors in these projects and the power-hungry people in the position of authority, who then devise a contingency plan leading to the foundation of the Doppelganger Detection Department, or also known as Triple D, which would mean some assurance for the security of the Trojan Horse project to run longer, providing the favorable results the government and the military look for. In simpler words, there was some sort of leak exposing parts of the project that the government is the culprit behind this doppelganger pandemic and invasion. The government starts panicking, leaning on a contingency plan that they are not the culprit, and in fact, they have been creating an organization to detect these doppelgangers and dispose of them safely to keep everyone safe. They even run educational videos for residents and even hire doormen to examine these entities to pretend it wasn't them who created them in the first place. Despite the leak risking the government being exposed as the bad guys, it turned out to have a silver lining for them, as they included the buildings as part of the experiment to see how good people are at detecting the doppelgangers, so they could improve their designs and abilities at shapeshifting. Essentially, they hired doormen and provided them with a lot of information and documentation to carefully study each person coming to the window and determine whether they are intruders or doppelgangers or real residents. The government filled up these buildings with people so that the doormen have a huge responsibility on their hand to protect them, emotionally holding them accountable for the loss of any life. This ensures an honest and careful examination of each resident and doppelganger to the best ability of each doorman, making it part of the experiment. The government even goes a step further and fakes images of first encounter with the doppelgangers, portraying them as extraterrestrials, trying to clear their name of any claims of being involved with the sudden outpour of these monstrous beings that kill for sport, fabricating evidence to sell a fake story with a laughable comedic stereotypical alien image. Interestingly, the lead researcher of the Trojan Horse project is actually a resident in this building, who is called Dr. W. Afton. Maybe he lives in the building to be close to his research, having close proximity to his work, closely observing the outcomes. W. Afton is of course a reference to William Afton, the antagonist of Five Nights at Freddy's, with another reference being Orcus Dispatter and the Nightmare Mode, which is William Afton as Springtrap. Dr. W. Afton lives with a woman called Mia Stone, who is a teacher, seemingly being in a relationship together, which makes it even worse for him, being such a heartless person, letting all his neighbors who are even married being butchered, while he has a relationship himself. Basically, for achieving a higher goal, the government is willing to sacrifice many people in the building, using them as collateral, even seeing if they have the ability to differentiate between real people and doppelgangers, being unknowingly part of the experiment. Going back to the nature of the experiment, it was mentioned that physical assimilation is not perfected yet, but clearly is shown through some doppelgangers having obvious deformities and abnormalities, with some even being incapable of making intelligible sounds. Despite imperfect physical assimilation, almost all doppelgangers were determined to deceive and lie to the doorman to infiltrate the building, who kept on insisting on their lies even when confronted with obvious imperfections and discrepancies in their documentations. However, when some doppelgangers are caught red-handed, they expose their real selves, knowing it's too late for them, saying that the organization cannot stop all of them from achieving their goal. So, what is this goal that they talk about? Well, that might be fighting for freedom, as some exhibit complete sentience and ability of freedom in thoughts. In creating these entities, which is not fully clear how at this point, many gained or kept their sentience and consciousness, willing to fight for freedom and not simply being subject for a cruel experiment. So this hooded man seems to be part of a group fighting against the government trying to expose them for their cruel experiments. It's not clear why they chose to pass the coded letter to the doorman, but maybe as he was hired by this government organization, getting him on their side could prove to be a valuable asset. Gaining internal information, interacting with members of the government, and even the test subjects, being the doppelgangers. And also, as a side note, something interesting that I noticed is that the hooded man behind the mask seems to have this face, and in a folder his face was attached to the skinny clown in the normal mode. Not sure if this has any significance to the lore or not. So to say in a brief and concise manner, the government is behind causing the staged invasion, creating these monstrous beings they called doppelgangers, whom they created in an experiment to act as imposters and shapeshift, to be used as war weapons to infiltrate foreign or enemy governments and destroy them from within. What a twisted plotline, yet very intriguing. What are your theories about the lore, and what do you think we will see in the future updates? Let me know down in the comments. As always, it's been your host Star. Thanks for being here, and I will see you on another one. Have a fantastic day.